This episode is brought to you with the help from Nubelity. Nubelity is your go-to IT partner offering tailored solutions in talent acquisition, infrastructure support, network reliability, and cutting-edge AI. We help you stay ahead by turning technology into a strategic advantage for your business. Nubelity, turning your challenges into powerful opportunities. All right, well, welcome to today's Viking Press Pass. I'm Matthew Nickel, voice of Augustana football, and joining me today is Dakota Straight, defensive back for the Vikings. So, Dakota, thanks for fitting me in today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Hey, well, Dakota, for those that maybe don't know who you are, mind doing just kind of a quick introduction and background about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name is Dakota Straight. I play football in pole vault here at Augustana. I'm a bio major. I'm minoring in psychology too, and I'm from Frankfort, Illinois.
Great. Well, good stuff we want to talk about. So, hey, okay. Well, first we got to start. It's election day. Did you vote or do you have a plan to vote?
I did vote. Yes, I did.
All right, you did your civic duty, so good. Well, good to hear. Okay, so let's maybe start a little bit. Let's go back a couple of years and let's maybe talk a little bit about, why you chose Augustana. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what that process was like and why you ended up here at Augie.
Okay. So it all starts back. I'd say probably my sophomore year of high school. Coach Maloney came into my school and talked to a bunch of the football players, and we connected through emails and stuff and phone numbers. And he really was just sending us stuff about Augie, and it was really one of the first schools that I ever looked at. And after like learning more about it and learning that I could study what I want to study, play the sports that I want to play, and still be close to home at the same time. It really was just the perfect fit for me.
I love it. Now, did you know, because you talked about biology and psychology, did you kind of already know coming to Augie that that's what you wanted to study, or did you kind of, find that out, your freshman, sophomore year?
I definitely knew coming into Augie I wanted to study biology, but when I first came in, I was more on like the pre med track. I wanted to go pre PA and work in like hospitals and everything. But after my sophomore year, I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted to do, and I switched it up. And right now, I'm applying to PT schools.
Oh, I love it. Um, so we'll talk a little more about that. I do want to circle back to kind of what life after Augie looks like for you. So we're in week 9 of the season. Vikings are 3-5. Certainly not the expectation we've seen, but kind of expected coming into this year. But let's talk maybe a little bit about. We still got a couple games left to play. Let's talk a little bit about this past Saturday. I mean, what were your kind of general thoughts and takeaways from the Titan game that you're trying to pull ahead to this Carthage game?
Well, Wesleyan's been our rival for a long time, and I feel like we always have a really good game against them. And unfortunately, we just fell short this weekend. And after looking at the film, there's always little tweaks that you can have that can make the game go your way or make your guys be in the right spot to, really fill the gaps or make the plays when they're needed. And, we just fell short on a few of those plays. And, Wesleyan's a great team and everything. And, you always want a good game out of your rivals. And so, even though we fell short, it was really real good game.
What now you mentioned the rivalry, and it seems like that's a big rivalry with this class, of athletes, on the football team. I mean, where does that kind of rivalry stem from? Is there much history to it, or is it just kind of something you've inherited and continued to grow?
I feel like it's definitely been inherited. We have some coaches that were former players for Augie, and they tell us their experiences with Wesleyan and like the games they played with them. And Wesleyan's it's only a 2 hour drive, and I just feel like we've just been button heads since day one. So it's a good rivalry to have.
Yeah, I mean they've got a good program. It's a great school, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it
do know a
definitely
lot of
it predates itself.
yeah a lot of our guys get recruited there, and a lot of their guys get recruited here. So it's a we're all button heads, but I like it.
Yeah, well, Alvarado came from there, right?
Yeah,
There
he
in the
did. Yeah.
secondary. So he's still a little talent. Well, good. So let's talk about this Saturday. They're back. We're back home. This is our last home game before we got to travel down to Wash U. It's Gold Rush, which I think is super cool. They've kind of centered a theme around it. So I've got my Gold Rush T-shirt ready to rock and roll for Saturday. It's a noon kickoff versus a one kickoff, so it's a little bit earlier, and it's Senior Day. So this is your last year. You've been a 4 year starter. How would you, if someone asked you, how would you summarize like your career at Augie?
Mike, it's been full of surprises. I came into school here, just trying to show my best effort, put my best foot forward and do what I can for the team. And along like with injuries going on in my freshman year, I was able to get the opportunity to play, and I really just felt like I took advantage of it. I wanted to give my all out there, and it's been a roller coaster. There's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, injuries. I got a concussion last year, which kind of put me back a few weeks, but it's been a fun ride. I don't regret it one bit. I love being here, and I love being with the boys and the coaches and just everyone at the school. It's been a great time.
Now, what have you? I mean, as a 4 year starter, how have you kind of seen your play evolve? I mean, if you think about those games you started, as a freshman and sophomore. I mean, how do you feel like you've kind of transformed into a different player now than you maybe were 2 or 3 years ago?
I definitely think the size is definitely a big one. I came into school here like roughly like 160, 165, and now I'm sitting closer to like 195, 200 now. So being able to put on some weight and take on these hits and really deliver the blow, I think definitely is a big thing for me.
So who all are you going to have in town? I mean, you always have a good showing, a good tailgate scene. We'll talk about that. But who will you have any additional like family or friends in town? This weekend.
I think my sister's coming down to the game from. She goes to school in Alabama. I think she's coming, which is it's gonna be awesome. I don't get to see her much because she goes to school so far away. But um, I think my aunt's coming too. My grandparents they're always there. They bring the RV and they just love going out to the games and hanging out with everyone at the tailgate. I think yeah, my parents, my grandparents, and I think aunt, uncle, and my sister all going to be there. So I think it'll be a fun time.
Love it. Do they kind of hold up shop at the Camelot there in Milan as well?
Oh yeah, they
Yep,
love it there.
that's a
They
good.
got their
That's
same
a
spot that
favorite
they
spot.
go to. Yeah.
Love it. Um, so when you think about moments that come to mind, as you kind of reflect on your career here at Augustana, what do you feel like have been some key football moments or memories that you're going to kind of take away, that really kind of stick out to yourself?
I think one play in particular sticks out. I only have one pick in college, one interception, and I think that's probably the one that comes to mind. It was a one-handed interception in the end zone against Carthage.
I was gonna say it's we're going back to 2022. So
Yeah,
you got to get another one. You got to get one more. So last home
I
game.
know. I've been itching, so hopefully it comes.
Um, yeah, I mean, let's think a little bit about this Saturday. So, Carthage is coming in at 2-6. The two wins are back to back. They beat Milliken 24-20. They just beat North Park 22-21. So they're going to be coming in high in confidence. What can the defense do you think is going to expect? From the Carthage offense coming into Saturday.
Well, they do run a lot of two back personnel. So you'll see like a lot of like downhill running, and their quarterback. He's a really mobile guy. He likes to take off on. If he doesn't like his first or second read, he'll take off on a run. So we really gotta make sure the QB run, and then also their two back personnel is a big thing for us that we're looking at.
Yeah, I know that Bryce Frank and Mark Hunter, the two guys there in the backfield, and but they feel like it's a fairly balanced offense. I mean, just 204 passing attempts this year, 250 rushing attempts. Um, to get their first down. So you probably think those are, you know, probably long third down. 60% of them are pass attempts. 40% have been rushing. So I mean, it feels pretty balanced. So how do you game plan for someone that does come to the table a fairly balanced team?
Uh, well, that's the thing. I feel like mainly you really got to look at like uh, situationally, like what are they going to do? Like what are they? For me, when I watch film, I always look at their third down plays and then their first down plays. Like how are they going to start their down sequence, and then how are when we need a first down, what is our go to play to make sure we need those 6 yards or 7 yards or however many yards it is. I feel like definitely they have their playmakers on their team. You know, like I said, their quarterback, he's probably the main driver for their offense. So they're going to get the ball in the hands of their best playmakers, and then try to get the job done. So we as a defense just have to make sure that we're the better football players on the field each play, and that we just get 1% better each day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the famous Maloney quote there. 1% better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of the pre-work for this week. So I mean, the offense for Carthage is it's last in the CCIW. We're kind of in the mix defensively, and this is all around scoring. Um, Rushing. They're seventh, passing their last. So, I mean, they're definitely towards the bottom in terms of overall offensive production, but that doesn't mean they're not gonna they don't have the capability, right, to kind of break things. I mean, things play pretty tight, within the CCIW. So now I was looking a little bit about this, like, so against Carthage in 2022, which you mentioned earlier, you got your interception. That was probably your best game statistically. You had 10 tackles, the interception, you had a pass breakup. This year you're at 32 tackles, which is just kind of one shy of Darren Oregon's, tackle, there in the secondary. Do you think, your rise in tackles this year, because that's statistically is probably your best overall season in terms of total, total tackles given to you. Do you think that's due in part to the overall scheme the Vikings have been running this year? Or, do you think it's maybe more the opposing team getting more into the secondary? Because Johnny Breeden, he had made a comment on the philosophy is, the play is going to put you into the position, but you still got to make the play. I'd probably just completely, brutalize that statement. But where do you feel like it's been, at least statistically from a tackle perspective, it's put a lot on your shoulders this year from that way. What do you think has kind of contributed to that this year?
I think um, definitely with Dylan Burton going down, it definitely was a huge hit to this team, and our linebackers, they do their best, but I feel like mainly it's just more of like a role position, like that's what the team needed me to do. They needed me to fill down more on runs. They needed me to play both the run and the pass versus in the past years. I was more just like a pass player. But now, with me, instead of lining up at like 9 to 10 yards, I'm more lining up at like 6 to 7 yards. So I'm more downhill player. But definitely, I think this year, you got to be in position, and I think that's a big thing about us as defensive wise is we just have to be in position, and like Johnny said, if you're in the right position, you'll be able to make the play, and you just got to be able to finish your play.
Yeah. Um, Now, do you think though that opens up, more potential for folks to attack our seams or attack us downfield? Do you think it kind of invites that? What are your thoughts around that?
Um, It probably gives them the perspective that they can hit the seams, because our safety is playing a little bit more into the box. Um, but we're scouting out the tight ends. We're making sure that like we're trying to get hands on these tight ends, making sure they don't get clean releases off the line. Even seam routes from like the slot guys. We're getting linebackers in the seams and making sure that our DBs are playing um, tighter on these seam routes. So I feel like yeah, it does. It might look like prospectively from the offense that they're open, but during the play, like we're making sure we're shutting these down.
I like it. Well, hey, let's switch gears a little bit, and let's talk track and field. Because you're an all-conference pole vaulter for the Vikings. So, when does practice begin for track and field? Because I want to say what indoor starts, I think sometime soon, right? And then it goes to outdoor in like March or April.
Yeah, so they're actually the track and field teams. They're doing like their preseason training right now. So cross country is going on right now, but the track and field they have like a preseason right now, and then right after football ends, the track coaches are nice enough to give me like a week, 2 weeks to like um, refuel, make sure my body's right before I just dive right into another sport. So I'd say around like 2 weeks after the football season, sometime around like Thanksgiving, maybe after Thanksgiving break is when I start diving into track.
So, I mean, how'd you get into pole vaulting?
So it's actually a funny story. I was a big baseball player my entire life, and I honestly was probably better at baseball than I was at football. But I fractured my growth plate in my throwing arm in seventh grade and was never able to throw the same way again. And when I got to high school, I tried out baseball my freshman year, because I was loved baseball. And one of my coaches for football, he came out to me one day and he was like, "You're too slow. You need to drop baseball and join track." And so I was taken off guard, but you know what? I was like, I'm ready for it. I can't like baseball. I love baseball, but it was time to hang up the spikes for that, just because my game totally changed after that. And so one day I just showed up to track practice, and Mike Alvarado, my buddy at the time, or he's still my buddy, but he told me we were going to sprint practice. And I showed up to sprint practice with him because he was on the track team too. And magically, somehow, it was pole vault practice because he was a pole vaulter too.
Okay.
And so one thing led to another. I ended up liking doing it, and it just stuck with it. Now I'm doing it in college too.
I mean, what was it like the first time, you had to go up, over the pole, and it's like, to me, that would just be like a little bit nerve wracking. You got to have a little bit of like, just go for it, right? Just let's just send it.
Yeah, you definitely have to be a little crazy, but the first time I ever jumped, it was terrifying for sure. And the way my coach taught, he was a more of an old school guy. He basically just told me, he was like, I don't know, hold on to the stick and just kind of do it. So it
Simple.
really just you really yeah. He was like kind of simplify, but you just really had to go and do it. And it turns out he was right because you don't get over your fear of doing something unless you're doing it.
Absolutely. Um, Now, your personal best came this past February, at least here at Augie. It was like 14, 3 and a quarter. Um, do you have any goals that come to mind when you go into the season in terms of, are you trying to reach a certain height? Is it really more about like consistency at a height? Like how does that kind of process work?
So I feel like you're always just trying to get that next bar, and for me, that next bar it's that 15-foot bar. And that it's been at practice. I've been jumping at bars that are 15 feet, maybe a little bit higher, but in a meet I've never actually been able to clear it, and that's my driving force. I really before I hang up the spikes for track, I want to hit that 15 feet.
How like what's the increments? When you're going up like in a meet, what is that? Do you have like a certain number of jumps that you have to, that you're saying I need to start here, and so you're kind of limited by, I can only do, I don't know, jump 4 times or something like that. I mean, how do you kind of set that bar and set, the increments as you're going up?
So the increments are set up by the people, people who run the track meets. So they'll tell you like, oh, starting height is 12 feet today, and then we'll go up to 16 feet, and if someone beats 16 feet, then we'll keep going from there. Um, but for me, it's usually you start off wherever you're comfortable at. So if you're comfortable at making that 13.6 bar, then you can start off there, but you only get 3 attempts at each bar.
Got
So,
it.
but if you clear it, then you go on to the next bar. But if you don't, um, then you're out. So I feel like really the first bar that you hit, you have to be really confident that on first try you can hit this bar, and then you can go from there.
Got it. So how many times? I mean, so you could probably jump. I mean, a dozen times. Then if you continue to clear on the third and just keep pushing it, then
Yeah, I've seen guys go from 12 feet to 14 feet, and they jumped like 16 times.
wow.
Yeah, but other guys they'll do the same thing and only have to jump 4 times. It really just depends on how you're doing that day.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I've literally never watched pole vaulting, so it's like this is completely new to me. Well, I like
My
it.
parents thought I was crazy when I told them I was going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think the 15 foot I think is a great goal because I was looking at the you placed sixth at the indoor CCIW championships in February, and it really seemed like three of the four top folks were right around that 15 mark. 15-3 I think is where like three or four of them kind of ended at. So it feels like you do that, you're placing yourself right there at the top, within the CCIW. So love it. Now have you ever, but you said you've gotten the 15-foot bar though, like in practice, right? You just haven't been
Yeah,
able to
I've
do it.
cleared in practice, but just not in a meet.
All right. um let's do it. um So let's talk a little non-football stuff. You talked about a biology degree with a minor in psychology. You originally kind of went for the pre-med track at Augie, which Augie's a great school to do anything around the sciences. Um, you know, Now you said you're looking at physical therapy and going to PT school after Augie.
Yeah, I talked with this Beth Ford. She's a career coach here at Augustana, and she was really the one that helped me because I knew I wanted to stay around the sports realm and still be able to help people. And she was the one that really helped me dive down this path and choose physical therapy. And over the summer, I had this great opportunity of volunteering at Rush Physical Therapy and working for Jerry Davis. He's a therapist there, and it's really just I figured out what I wanted to do through that, and I'm excited to go to PT school and everything. I'm still applying right now. I haven't heard anything back, but I'm expecting to hear some answers soon, so I'm excited.
I like it. Just realized I didn't put my overlay for your name there early on, so a little late to the game there.
All good.
Um, well, good. So, has the application process already started then for PT school, or what does that look like to get in?
Yeah, so I started applying in June, and most of the deadlines are like by October, November, some are in December, and then there's a few rolling admissions. So it's really just you pick the schools that you most interested in. It's really similar. It's really similar to like applying to college. Like they use like the same like Common App type system, but it's for like PT schools. And so yeah, it's very similar to applying to like Augustana, but it's just a little bit more in depth about like how they're going into it.
Got it. Got it. Was there any specific like PT schools that you've been targeting or kind of applied to, or?
Yeah, St. Louis University. I've been looking there. Midwestern University, which is up north, close to Chicago, and then there's some schools down in Alabama and Tennessee because I want to move to Tennessee in a few years.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Why Tennessee? What's the draw
You
there?
know, every time I go there, I just want to live there more and more. So I love the area. I love the weather that they get there. I love Nashville. I love the country music. Um, I just love it all, and I just think I could see myself living there.
Yeah, I've never been to Nashville. I mean, outside of just driving through it one time, but me and my wife have been talking about trying to go down there and visit and do like a 3 or 4 day weekend down there. Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, trying to get out and get away from your your immediate hometown. I did the same thing. I mean, I moved to Colorado for just shy of 8 years, and then came back here in 2014. So not too far out of college, I took off and just kind of went and experienced a different area of the country. And man, you learn so much about yourself, but it's just great for growth. And you never know, man. You might just love to settle down there, and or sometimes it's a nice break. Like we came back to Iowa, where me and my wife were both kind of born and raised, but it's nice to be around family and but we do miss Colorado. So if you're down there, I might have to swing through and you can play host for a
For
night.
sure. Anytime.
um, so you talked a little bit about you did an internship. Was that what that was considered then when you were working for that physical therapist, or was it just more of like a summer job versus like an internship?
So, one of the requirements for PT schools is you have to get like volunteer hours at different clinics, and so that's more what I was doing this year. It wasn't technically like an internship, but I was getting like all like my volunteer hours in to show the PT schools that I'm actually really interested in doing it.
So what were some of the things like you were doing kind of day in day out? Was it more administrative work, or did you get a chance to like work with people kind of day in day out?
A little bit of administrative work, but I also got to help patients too. I got to use my voice to like help like instruct them on different exercises and stretches to do. I couldn't actually touch the patients and like move their like arms in like different places to help get them to stretch, but I can like tell them how to do it. But yeah, it was really just more mental. I was getting more mental reps at this place than I was more like physical things.
Nice. Um, well, good man. Well, that's something. I mean, as you can continue to see not only just athletes, but physical therapy for whether it's work related injuries or just getting getting older. It's certainly a needed field. Um, Now, so really two more questions, and then that's kind of all I'll have for today. But okay, so let's go back to the colorful conversation at the Camelot for the DB dinner. LeBron, Michael. Okay, what camp are you in? I can't recall, and you might have just like separated yourself from the conversation. It's really more me and I think Alvarado and a few other guys
Yeah.
there. But so what camp are you in?
Well, Matt, I'm a Jordan fan. Um, I like LeBron too. Like he's a good player and everything, but I'm a Bulls fan and Jordan played for the Bulls, and I just think he's the goat.
There we go. That's the only right answer. So
Yep.
I love it. It was funny. There was an NBA. I think it might have been like a TNT or just an NBA like pregame commercial coming on, and this was yesterday. My son walks out, Wyatt, and he goes, "Was that LeBron James?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, LeBron sucks. It's Jordan." I'm like, I have taught you well. I
That's
love
awesome.
it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Um, um, okay, so lastly, we got to talk about the straight tailgate scene. And it's been routinely mentioned as a staple, among others, there in the tailgate scene. But what's your favorite pregame or postgame meal, on Saturdays? Because I know your dad does a pregame meal and then he does a different postgame meal, which I have, taken part in both here. So, what's it for you?
I mean that there's a lot of good things to choose from, but I think I got to go with an all-time favorite, the brisket tacos. I really like when he has the smoke around everything. He puts the pork butts in there, and Just makes really anything brisket. Really, like he can have brisket tacos is one of them. He had the smash burgers too,
Yep.
which was
Yeah,
really
those
good.
last time. I love those. Those are cool.
Yeah. And I think this isn't really more like in the smoke or anything, but the B's and G's, biscuits and gravy is my all time favorite. Um, it's really hard to eat any other type of B's and G's when you have it. So
Yeah.
I think that's would be my favorite.
You know, I was talking to your dad the last home game, and he was saying, I want to say, he said he's been working on the sausage gravy. I think he said 10 years in the making now, or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, it's been
So
a long time. He's been changing up his recipe a little bit each time. So
it was so good because it was like the sausage and gravy, like sandwich. It was, I snagged like one or two before I headed up to kick off the North Central game. So
yeah, I
good
think if he
stuff.
wasn't doing what he was now, I think he'd definitely be a chef because he loves cooking. And he loves making food for people and just seeing their reactions and stuff. So
Well, hopefully, we found lifelong Viking fans, and we'll get the straight reunion to come down and come to an Augie game occasionally, so
oh, for sure.
so we can divulge in that. I think your mom was saying they're looking at maybe still getting a Viking tailgate pass potentially next year, and I'm like, hey, I'm all for it. So
Yeah. I
absolutely
mean,
love it.
the tailgates are always fun. The games are always good. So the people are amazing to be around. There's nothing better than I'll give for a football game.
Well, hopefully we've got some good weather for this weekend. It's a little earlier kickoff. I know. I want to say the senior presentation. I want to say it starts probably around 11:15, 11:20.
Mhm.
So folks, hopefully can tune into that and see all the great seniors that spent 4 and some 5 years here. But again, man, it's been awesome watching you. And for I started doing this. Gosh, this is my I think fifth season now since we moved back from Colorado. Calling Viking games. So it's been awesome to watch you through your entire career. Tremendous player, better person, great
Thank you.
family. So it's been a huge pleasure, man. So we'll see you Saturday, and go Vikings. So good luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much, Matt. Have a good day.